are going to be coming through. Great Molotov there by Bgmi, although it's going to stop their push as well. It's going to have them to have some time to think about what they want to do here. Brute Force, we're going to have 3 teams fighting here.
Oh, in the underground here, it's going to be quite risky. If you have some nades and molotovs, any kind of utility is going to be very, very impactful to use it. But here you go, Balls Old Boy trying to go for a big pre-fire. Does take quite a bit of damage, down to half HP. It is going to be also above the staircase, so any kind of nade coming out from their side will just be able to roll on down over. But yeah, Goat Bapesh is also around the corner. This is going to be all over the place. And while this fight is happening, again, the loot value of Void is just going to keep going up. They're at 2.2 million.
Nobody's currently touching Void Esports, but I am looking at Bgmi. I mean, they're currently, I thought they ended up losing some players. They didn't end up losing some players. Sam 9, I feel like are they going for the extract already? What do they have? Are they just trying to make sure they secure at least some type of money here in regards to the extracting? It feels like they are.
I mean, here you know that you're not going to go for the win because Void is just too much of a threat in that first game. And here too, though, again, over 2 million in loot value is crazy when they went in the radiation zone. I think the game plan is just we want to secure second place, maybe a top 3 depending on how this fight happened, because again, 3 teams as of right now are fighting underground and it's all over the place as Balls get eliminated, and they are not having the game they wanted.
They're not. They're currently in 4th place in regards to the loot value. We're seeing Sam 9 already has 3 players extracted. They did end up losing 1. And meanwhile, Void Esports is just having an absolute blast with everything that's going on, because this team has radiation fully to themselves. You see the loot value going up higher and higher, and they only have 1 elimination. They really didn't want to have to worry about the eliminations on this one with the lead that they had coming in.
Yeah, and the main issue is that if you want to catch up to Void here, you only have 5 minutes and 20 seconds left in this game. That means you'd have to go into radiation zone and compete against them. And I think that knowing Void and what they did in the first game, right, they're just going to extract. Once they have the stuff, like maybe they looted a flare, I'm just going to flare out of extraction of the radiation zone, and they will be good to go. As Brute Force, 1 million new value.
They thought about it.
Looking good, but what's the game plan for Brute Force? That's the big question.
For Brute Force, I think they were thinking about maybe going into the radiation. They know that they were able to get a lot of eliminations for. You can see their loot value has been able to go up. And I feel like with Brute Force, they maybe learned their lesson of earlier, not getting too greedy. If you can extract, if you can just secure some loot value to your tally, just go ahead and do that.
Exactly. You just want to secure it. Oh, there you go.
Gold piles?
Oh, more gold piles. Wait, 2 gold piles, 5 gold bars? Okay, they're rich.
On top of that, you got some graphics cards, you got some secret doc. Okay, you know what? I see you.
I see you, officially in Metro Royale. And yeah, there you go, extracting and confirming all of that loot. Okay, how much are they going to have in value here? Like 6 million over the course of 2 games, I think. Like, they're going to be so high up there.
I think even more. I think they might get even closer to 10 million.
Really? In 2 games? That's an insane amount of value to have in only 2 matches. You see that typically in like 3-4 games, but Void are just destroying the competition in 2 matches of Metro alone. That's crazy.
If I was to pick anybody to be on my team, I would definitely pick Void, because they are absolutely destroying it now. Brute Force, they're saying, we're not even going to try to challenge anything that Brute Force is currently doing. They do have a 1 million value, and you were wondering what Void was going to be able to do? They have 8 million so far just in this match alone, Max.
I didn't see that number. I thought it was a little bit lower than that, but here we go. Void extractor earlier in the radiation zone. 9.3 million in Metro cash value. That is madness. I think that's the highest we've ever seen, even in the CSA tournament. That was madness.
Metro Royale show match. If you guys haven't checked it out, make sure you check it out. It's not just about being the one, it's about making sure that you extract with all that beautiful loot.
Hashtag be the richest. We're starting the hashtags to real one.
Be the richest instead of be the one. You know what? I can get behind that. I do have to question some of these teams, though. I obviously understand you get so much value out of getting these early eliminations, but if it doesn't work out for you, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, you lose everything. You just get 0 Metro cash.
I feel like you almost want to avoid fights, and then if you're contesting like certain looting areas, like you're talking about the radiation zones, that's when you want to be like, okay, now we're gonna fight this because the value we can get off of this can get us a win.
That's the beautiful thing about Metro Royale. You can either try to go fight people, or you can just take the other route and just go for that loot in radiation.
But if you go for the loot in radiation, guess what? You're not the only team typically that's gonna go in radiation, so you're gonna fight over there, and then you're taking a risk because high value loot locations are heavily contested by multiple teams.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna go in the radiation zone, the best way to do so is with your Coupe UT2 Gamer Pros. The hand warmers we have here, rechargeable hand warmers, that also have RGB lights with a 5,000 milliamp battery and 4 different adjustable heat settings. You weren't prepared, Max, but there you go. You should have went green for the radiation.
I got green.
You got green.
I got
well, you are several games.
That's a green, right?
It's more yellow, but you know, you're number
He's
blind and
colorblind.
colorblind.
Oh, there we go. We got the green. Yeah.
We got there eventually, but yeah, make sure you guys are checking out Metro. Honestly, I think it's so sick, and I would love to see more and more events like this.
Yes.
Also, what I'd like to see is you guys at home making sure to check out the Night Raven set and the Enigma set, which you can pick up right now. It's the PMGC set for you for 2024, and you can use the code 2024 PMGC to get 50 UC off with 10 draws in the lucky spin. So make sure you check that out. You can get your Sandstorm skin in game right here, right now. You know, it's a little too mean. He's not here to defend himself, so the Jason
does look like him.
skin in game.
Taking up all the oxygen, but I actually like that skin. I need to be able to go. You know what, Max? Remind me. After today, go enter that code.
If you had a 7WG skin in game, what would it be? What would it
Green.
look like?
It would be short.
That too. Wait, that might be an advantage.
Yeah.
Your character will
Little
be
buddy,
shorter.
I can't-
7
I can't
buddy.
hit his head model.
I'll be like the little King Kong.
I like it. You know what? Let's get on that. But as we are going to head into our final Erangel in moments here, we need to start to focus back on what's really important here is who's going to come out to be the one, who's going to flare up here in the final 3 matches of the day. And honestly, Influence Rage,
Yes.
they have been the team to have a massive glow up in this day. Can they maintain this though? Because if they do, with only being 1 point behind 4MV, they could be 1 day away from lifting that trophy.
I believe.
It isn't like 4MV, they get to the center of the circle and they don't lose players.
Yes.
Right? That's the big thing.
That's
They
the
have
main
4 players. Like, it goes to show if 4MV do the similar kind of approach in terms of rotations, but don't lose players, they might be in Influence's Rage's position to actually compete for these wins or getting at least in top 3 positions. So I gotta say right now, Influence Rage are like a perfected 4MV on his first 3 matches.
Just the consistency that we've been seeing out of this team. I mean, you just mentioned in regards to if they do get to the center of the circle, they're able to take full advantage of it. They're not going to overcommit to something. They're not going to overextend to anything. They're going to just continue to play their game. If they're forced to be aggressive, be aggressive. So, remember something that none other than Defi from Void Donkey told us. It's like, if we finish 2nd place every single match, we'll be happy with that. It's not Void Donkey doing it, but it is Influence Rage currently doing that by finishing almost 2nd place every single time.
I like Max's answer to that. It was like, well, if you do that, you're not going to win. And then you and I look at each other, Seven, like, they are. Well, if you get second every game, I feel like you're going to win because not one team is going to get first every game.
I mean, getting just 2nd place, right? When he said just getting 2nd place in terms of placement points, never going to cut it. Like Influence Rage, you're getting eliminations off the back of that too, right? Because they're being aggressive. Maybe not always in the sense of taking fights, but in controlling the circle. And that is very important that we were not seeing actually from Void yesterday.
Not even Void. I feel like it was for some of the other teams as well, but especially Void, right? We wanted to see a little bit more aggressiveness out of them. And when we say aggressiveness, just to educate the viewers at home, we don't necessarily mean to go fight right away.
Yes.
You can just set yourself up within the zone, within the map, to just get full control, like DRX was able to do here. DRX waited for the right moment. They pushed up, and this is something that you were able to point out, Max.
Exactly, they were being aggressive in the sense that we know we have circle control. We're going to be aggressive when the opposition, when Influence Rage are deciding to send it away from school. And look, you get the easiest chicken dinner you could ever ask for at the end here for DRX, even though it got risky at points, but it still was the perfect setup for them to get a chicken dinner against Influence Rage in that kind of circle.
Ooh.
Well, here we go. Currently sitting like he's going to be potentially our MVP of the event so far. It's going to be Nomi, but also really interesting to see Vache here in 2nd. I mean, normally when we look at and see, there's so many other players we could talk about. I mean, Westron is definitely going to be one of those, but to have Vache, who we had the casters talk about so many times, he's been massively stepping up for them.
I mean,
3TN, if it was driving distance, I would be like, okay,
Beginning of the day.
Step up.
Vache, the South Korean team's hating because of this one simple trick. I mean, you got third party at one point after fighting DRX, and still just swept the floor with most of the T plus gear players. So yeah, Vache, I mean, we knew him when he was back in the day on Konina Power, right? He is a true OG, and this guy's just still here at the top of his game here on the PMGC.
What worries me though for him and his team, this is the last Erangel, and yesterday, I know it said this towards the start of the day,
Miramar.
they got 0 points on Miramar across both matches. So if they want to be able to continue this team, they're I think in 3rd place at the moment, they need to have a good final Erangel, and more importantly, we need to figure out what's going wrong on Miramar for them. But if we talk about them, also, what about Alpha 7? Miramar is their home ground. That's where they seem to always put up most of their points, and yet yesterday, they were extremely quiet. I know we were talking about earlier on, are we going to count Alpha 7 out? Because we're already starting to look towards some of those teams. If they have bad Miramars today, I would almost say in my books, they have no chance of taking the trophy.
That's why earlier when you were asking about that, I said I need to wait and see what Alpha 7 is going to be doing when we actually go to Miramar. From what their coach told me, yeah, we always feel comfortable. That is our best map. Yeah, you can say that as much as you want, but if you're not being able to perform on the other matches, if you're not being able to perform perform in Sandhawk. If you're down on Erangel, those dreams and hopes of being able to follow up the championship that you were able to get at PMWC, trying to get that final championship here at PMGC, is not going to end up happening.
It's not also, do you need to see Alpha Sim have good games on Miramar? Do you see the other teams like, your Team Spirit, your Void is still constantly remaining in that late game of those Miramar matches. So if you're only really relying on Miramar alone when the other teams are popping off on every battleground, catching up to first place is going to be super tough unless they get like win after win.
It would have been perfect if they did it earlier in the day too, because 4MV just wasn't being able to put up performances. 4MV now is starting to wake up. 4MV is not getting blessed within the circles. They're starting to adjust. This is something that we were talking about it yesterday. I feel like a lot of the players that I talked to at the beginning of the day, even their coaches, they were saying, yeah, 4MV ended up getting lucky. I kind of agree with them to a certain extent, but what was impressive was all the little things that they were changing that we noticed from league stage over here to grand finals. And we're starting to see it not just when they get circle plays. Now whenever they actually have to push to the circle. Now whenever they have to set themselves up in a 3-1 split with Doc behind the whole squad just saying, you know what, wait it out, wait for the right moment. Right now it's working out wonders for them, and that's currently why they're in first place.
I could hear his team right now say to Doc, don't go in. And he's like, I'm going to go in. I'm going to go for it. I mean, the thing is, I guess you can talk about a little bit of luck yesterday when it came to 4MV, because they had, what was it, 2 military zones?
Yes. Yeah.
The first one they got absolutely demolished in, and then the second one they had finally a good performance. So for 4MV, if you're going to use the excuse, especially the league stage, we just didn't get zone. When you do get zone, you better make those plays work.
I have one issue for 4MV that I've seen a lot right now. In PMWC, they're trying to play only edge, and it was clearly not working. Here, they're trying to fully commit to the center of the time, and it's not working. The key word I want to see from 4MV is adaptability. Based on the situation at hand, based on what kind of terrain and circle has come in your way, you've got to adapt, because center's not always going to be the answer, edge is not always going to be the answer, though, as you talked about, their splits, the way they approach circles is good. It's just later on in the match, what are you going to do to actually try and go for that big winning play?
I like their splits. I like the especially, I gotta correct myself there. I like their 3-1 split. Whenever they do the 2-2 splits, they end up hindering themselves. We kind of saw that in this last match. We've seen it in the past as well. I believe it was yesterday whenever we went to Miramar. Those 2-2 splits, even though they feel confident with it, you can feel confident as much as you want, but if they're not working out, you got to switch it up. And right now, the 3-1 splits are working out for them.
I mean, we saw Team Spirit, right? They're doing the 2-2 splits too, and it's not been doing great so far today.
Yeah, I mean, as we've been seeing with Team Spirit, it's more of the regrouping that they're really struggling with.
Yes.
I mean, you mentioned on Sandhawk, when we were talking earlier on, when D+ pushed them, I think it was Matic and Effect. D+ pushed with cars. They pushed with vehicles. They should have heard them coming, yet they kind of still overcommitted to their stay, got caught off and lost too many players.
Yeah, I'd say that when you're doing a 2-2 split, which is a completely valid way to play the game, I think 2-2 splits are one of the strongest splits in my opinion, it's the way you set up your 2-2 split. And the very important thing to do is if you have cars facing the direction of your teammates, ready to go at a moment's notice. If you see a team coming your way and you're not ready to defend, you send it. But as you talked about in that Sunlock game, they did not send it instantly. Effect was instantly flushed.
Yeah.
Like by D+ Kia, Matic was able to survive, but it was not enough to make it out of that game as a 3-man team. You need to be quick to reply and get together. So that stands not only then for Team Spirit, but as you said, Seven, also for 4MV.
Yeah, for 4MV. You know what? I'm going to switch off from 4B. I want to go into Falcons. I want to go into some of the teams that we need to start actually seeing some reaction out of them. If they even want to try to go to make a push to that championship, you could end up being second place against Falcons. That's not where they want to be. That's not where Top wants to be. Action is all of the players from Falcons. That's not ultimately where they want to be. They want to end up being the champion. Right now, 12th place, 44 points is just not going to cut it going into the last Erangel. I want to continue to see what we saw in this previous Erangel, which was that quick rotation out of Novo. If you don't end up going to Novo for Falcons, I don't want to see them fighting with Encilio early on, because Encilio has been getting the best part out of them over and over again.
For me, it wasn't even about the quick rotation coming out from Falcons, even though it was like a really big point they were making that previous game. It's just they are now aware that Encilio is there, and they're just going to avoid them. They're just going to wrap a little bit further down south, go towards the farm area, and that because of that, you're going to keep 4 players alive, which is all you have to do. Do not take these early fights. If you have 4 players alive in the mid to late game, you still have a chance to go for that chicken dinner.
So if we're going to go in on Falcons, I'm going to bring this topic up.
Okay.
It's who is going to stand out for their team here today in PMGC. If we think back to last year, it was Top, MVP. If we think back to the league stage in Last Chance, it was Action and Icy. Who's going to do it for them right now? It was Top, it was East when it came to day one. They just put them on
decent numbers, but they need someone on that team to stand out and
Really step up to be the motivation and to really get momentum going on their side.
There you go.
we're not going to see anyone right now unless they still have 4 players alive in the late game. Like, you might be an insanely good fragger. Guess what? 1v4ing these players, these teams in this lobby, it's not going to
Well, you're not Monkey. You're not playing the show.
Exactly. You're not in Warehouse right now.
Chappie's getting flashbacks right now as he's listening to us. But in regards to a player, especially for Falcons, that needs to stand out, I think he has to be the superstar that everybody expects to end up performing out of this team. None other than Top. He's the one with the most pressure. He's the one that, we saw the emotion that he had whenever we were in Turkey, and they didn't end up getting that win. We know what he wants to do as well.
PMGC Grand Finals MVP.
Exactly. We need to see those kind of performances again out of him. We really haven't seen him that much this year. Top, right now is your time to shine.
Do it. Do it. Don't let your dreams be
Make your
dreams.
future kid proud as well, right? Because he definitely expecting a child very, very soon. But I'm gonna throw a question your way to both of you here, and I'll give you a second to think about it. You cannot pick Influence Rage because everyone has seen how well they played today. But in your opinions, out of all the other teams, who has had the biggest step up today in your eyes? And I'm kind of thinking maybe towards D+.
Yes,
I can already see 7 as being
That was
that
mine
team.
too.
But explain to us, what are the changes we've seen with D+ from day 1 to day 2 that have allowed them to have to step up?
I would say the scouting is quite interesting to me, especially on the Rozok or school finish. They actually got some really solid information and made the best kind of decision based on that scouting they got on school. They did it actually in Miramar yesterday, right? Where they had the 2-2 split, 2 players in a compound, 2 players in a mounting. Information is a key factor that helps D+ do really solid plays to go for the win. They did it here on that school finish, and I think that shows to me at least they are able to bring that Miramar scouting over to Erangel and just perform thanks to it.
For me, it's going to be D+ as well. The big question mark is that, we are seeing them being able to perform better in Erangel in regards to eliminations. We're just not seeing really any placements out of that team. We need to see placements, and on top of that, we need to see eliminations.
Well, they got 3 matches left to do so today. We're going into our final Erangel of the day. So we're going to throw it back to our commentators to drop us on in with John, Allen, and Blake.
Boys, over on the desk, from Novo over to shooting range, our final Erangel of the day is just around the corner. Let's head on over, see what is available for our teams. It's a little bit kinder to the teams that drop over to the east side of this map blank. It's a little bit more chill. No long drops over the water.
I think we've been to Novo as our starting point for pretty much every single plane map today. So this has been a little bit more readable for our teams, but interesting positions all around the map that we've headed over towards apartments, even over towards school in that last game. Crazy stuff coming through, which is always nice to see here over the PMGC Grand Finals. We've got massive support for 4MV here going into our 4th game of the day. Let's see if they can channel that.
Plenty of energy here in the XL. We're looking for some excellent plays to back it up. Hot drops maybe. We've seen TJB, the Vicious, have trouble at the start of these matches before. A little bit of a symptom of the plane path, but maybe they're on the lock-in. And we did criticize them for it a little bit. We didn't really see it too much yesterday. Are we going to see it once more? Over on that northwest side, just around that Gatka area. Circle goes out east o blank, it's Milta Peninsula, it's Lipovka, it's the mansion splits.
Got Thunder Talks over towards Multi Power, an adjustment we saw from them earlier on. They do head over towards Multi Power again, and it supports them actually, over on this eastern side. They can make them rotate up towards Lipovka, have a much easier time of things, which is nice to see. Navi also on that side of things in shelter. I'll see if Navi can get a better game on, because currently in 10th place it's not cutting it for them. 75 points for 4MV, still right at the top. Influence Rage very, very close behind them. 74 points off the back of 2 good games, which could have been 2 chicken dinners back to back here.
Certainly could have been. They had that opportunity, but they still managed to profit greatly off of that. Now 1 point behind first place. They sit themselves in a launching position to get up towards that top spot. Hoping to do that here. Over in Yasnaya, they will share with the Vicious. They've been playing against this team for a long time now, Blank, both coming from the Americas region. Influence Rage on the east side of Yasnaya. But for now, Yasnaya will hold two teams, and it can do so comfortably for a little bit longer. It's the routes out that you need to try and isolate, and I think it's a little bit more pressure on the Vicious to make that move first because of the fact that so many teams are going to be pushing in from that west side, and they don't really have too many eastern routes out, given that Influence Rage sit on the east side of that settlement. The teams out on the west side include Guild on South George and Alpha 7 up on North George, and they'll have to try and navigate that river crossing, maybe sweep around past Stalba, or go through the middle near Potato Hill.
Yeah, always awkward. I mean, most teams are going to shift over from that western side anyway, including DRX, Liquid Galaxy, Team Spirit, so there will be openings made later on. Just means you have to play edge for a little bit longer. For the Vicious, there is a rotate up towards that north side, wrapping around Yasnaya. They can do the same down towards the south. And there's plenty of vehicles in that area as well. And I think for Influence Rage, they'll likely want to try and get ahead of this, but it's not like they can fully hold out the Vicious from making that move out. Just depends how aggressive they're going to be. You can see the lovely new McLaren skin coming through in-game for the buggy. Probably my favourite new skin for the vehicles so far. Looks sleek.
I like the wheels. That's my favourite part of that skin, I think.
Yeah,
the little designs on the wheels, you know.
That's right.
Look pretty fresh.
The wheels make the car go, Job.
No, that's the engine, actually. I'm afraid. Fact checked.
Without the wheels, the car no go.
Without the engine, the car no go.
Yes. Symbiosis.
Yes. One cannot occur without the other. Two things, both necessary. Thunder Talk, necessary to hold down this ground as they push in and up from the Miltipower Peninsula towards an RV, who have taken a knock. Not the flush just yet, but Cheng is moving into position on the off angle now to try and enact a little bit of pain over towards the Na'Vi ranks. Lemon exposed and a little bit up on high. King able to give Overwatch from the top rope there, and Flip is found as well. Na'Vi pulled apart by Thunder Talk.
The Na'Vi is a weird rotate in the first place. It's a strong rotate from Thunder Talks though. And again, this is something that maybe you wouldn't expect coming from Thunder Talks, moving over towards Milton Power at that point in time. The fact they're able to do that catches Na'Vi off guard. They're able to make their way up. But again, scouting is key, and things do change on a dime as we move through this PMGC. And I think that's something you got to be aware of. For instance, even though that last game, there was a great adjustment there from TJB where they were being held up by Alpha 7, they were like, fine, we'll sit in inside box compound, you guys are going to have to move anyway, but we're going to refuse to play into your hand. So this is what Na'Vi kind of fails on there.
Influence Rage, they moved out, so did the Vicious. Both of them coming into contact as damage is coming through from a lot of teams. These early maneuvers, quite treacherous seemingly. Thunder Talk have taken a knock. You've seen a knock over towards Incilio. Damage sent towards Influence Rage. Obviously Na'Vi going out entirely. But it is definitely a little bit of a nasty set of rotates. Incilio losing a player as the Falcons make their way across from Novo as well. So they breach in towards the Milta area. Incilio going to have to flee towards the peninsula and allows Falcons a straight shot towards the middle.
For the Falcons, it's much better. They have been cut out plenty of times down towards that south side by Incilio, so getting the first impact of it towards them is very important for them, and it means that Incilio's going to be playing a little bit more cautiously. Team Spirit actually were able to find a hit over towards Thunder Talks, but unable to confirm that flush. But at least Thunder Talks are now aware of that position down towards the south side. And for Team Spirit, it is pretty imperative right now that they pick themselves up some more points, because that points margin for them really hasn't moved all that much. The dial not swinging too hard for Team Spirit today.
No, they started a very similar scoreline to what they are on now. I think they started the day, was it on 55 points, 54 points, something like that?
Yeah.
It was 54. So they have not moved a whole deal at all. Up towards 57, definitely looking to try and convert the second half of their day. And this is the position to do it, right? They have currently got a very central hold around prison to try and make something happen on this match. On a 3-1 split, I think they're on right now. Actually, Kitsune scouting down towards the Milton Peninsula. Essentially, get a lot of info over towards Incilio, spot that rotation. Maybe the vehicles in the compound down there, feed that back over towards the rest of the team, and to be fair, that does keep their south flank fairly secure.
Yeah, playing over on that cliff face for Kitsune, it's a bold move, I'll give him that. but he'll be on his own for a while, but it did provide good information going forward. You can always move over towards the crates, which Incilio likely might want to move over towards later. Voin Donkey though, outside in the blue, cut out by 4MV. Doc watching that angle. We have currently Enigma Galaxy on our screens, who are scouting everywhere. We got Ralph down towards Milta at the moment, looking to regroup back over towards that north side, but it's D+ laying down the wall in front of them. Shields up for them, looking to rebuff Enigma Galaxy.
Playing around those shelter locations, D+ Kia stretching a line across the center of this circle as it shrinks in again. Goes a little bit more land-based, so not too dramatic on this ship. Falcons have managed to get ahead. I mean, this is what that pick over in Milta has allowed them to do, to move in ahead of Incilio on their rotate. Kitsune now very likely to look for the regroup. Team Spirit want to play the west side of that prison opening. You can see that the majority of the players are going to be moving out that way. Kitsune regrouping on the east side of it. Thundertalk still to their north, and that's going to push Thundertalk up towards the mansion conflict that is very likely to occur between teams like Alpha 7, like Vicious, like Guild, and all the way out on the north side. You've still got TJB yet to come in as well, so plenty of teams yet to condense on that top side. The south side a little bit more set in its ways.
Kitsune regrouping with the team. When Falcons move through this area, it's getting a little bit claustrophobic for Team Spirit. It's only for RCB surrounded on all sides. I mean, they have definitely a position to play from. 7 getting scarily close to DRX. This is over towards Alamo. As soon as DRX has to give up this high ground, it gets a lot more easy for Alpha 7 to make that approach, but they do find themselves at home. We'll immediately move over towards our location. Good stuff from Alpha 7. It's on the north side. I think they'll be happy to play this spot out for a little bit longer, especially because we're still in stage 2. Stage 3 is really where we'll start having to look for more significant portions of landmass.
4MV trying to navigate their way on in. They still, towards the latter half of the day, Blank, hold that top spot, right? They are in first place, but now only by a hair, where before it was by a country mile. So now that gap has shrunk. They need to post up another strong result. It's not going to be a military circle, which means that they will not have that assistance on side. They need to find a little bit more. They had a decent result over by School on that south side position, able to survive quite long into the game, get a lot of eliminations in the apartments positions as well. I think they played that very well. So we'll see if they can repeat that here. Void Donkey ID, they're going to be moving in behind 4MV on that southwest edge, just on the north edge of farm, and over towards those dips in those road junctions that could potentially be hotly contested here, but for now, arm's length between most of our teams.
Thundertalks were able to get a knock over towards Falcons. He's not been res just yet either, as East makes his way on over towards Icy. Scrape him off the floor, put him back on his feet. Pretty calm circle for the time being. Some interesting spots around here. We do have dips still in play, over towards that western side mansion as well as shelter. A lot of strong positions. Wing now on stage 3. This will be the big kicker for a lot of teams and where they decide to play. Now dip becomes really important. 4MV could challenge for it, but Void Donkey hot on their heels.
A fast rotate on the southwest side as we head up a little bit closer to the Yas Fields. You've got the Vicious in a really important compound, in a Heaven compound that oversees the northeast side entirely. We have seen it shared in the past, one team up, one team down, but right now the Vicious have it 2 and 2 on their split. Void Donkey ID faster than 4MV, and they get up to the roadside. They'll challenge off, they'll stand off against DRX, who take a little bit of damage over in their building. From the Alamo, and the roll up for Void Donkey ID successful.
Void Donkey ID, they've been struggling, but these type of positions, they love to play them. They work out well for them. Void Donkey ID currently still on 4 players. From the ditch, though, they have a lot of presence when it comes to that long-range firepower. Enigma Galaxy inside a dip at the moment, holding this one out. Strong position to play, but you got to be massively on the swivel. And this is not likely to be in the next circle. It definitely could be, but with it being so far down towards the southwest, they will be praying for a circle shift going their way. Team Spirit slowly angling their way into position where they can drop the net on Nigma Galaxy and potentially catch them off guard. Oh my! Big nade from Kaisei. Over towards Point Donkey ID.
They lost Vexy on the rotate. I was worried about their rear duo regroup, and it seems like fear has come to pass. Unfortunately, could potentially be pretty devastating for them. DRX, they weren't able to stop that first duo coming through, but as soon as they had those sightlines established, they were ready for the second set of Point Donkey ID players. And now they are down to two, Zeta and Potato. Zeta gets pulled out of the vehicle. DRX just being so brutal. Down shots on towards this position, and it's just Potato in the smoke with the shotgun, looking to try and stay alive, but those smokes will fade eventually. There's teams waiting in the wings to pull them down, but Revo for Alpha 7, a scout down to the south and up to the ridgeline. It's going to work out.
So is immediately is on the case though, and that forces him back, which gives more time to DRX. For the rest of Alpha 7 starting to move down from that north side. Mafioso not at all close by. He's on the southern edge of Yasnaya, just peeking his way out, getting some information for the teams down towards that southern edge. Team Spirit still playing their cards right, just very safely down towards that south side. In purview though of the Falcons on the east, they're just making their way out from prison, so they do have that high ground to play around with.
Falcons did manage to get that res earlier, Blank, so they're playing as 4 on the northwest corner of prison. Incilio going for a wide sweep around the edge. Thundertalk, probably the team that they're going to come into contact with here, with Guild on the far angle. Could potentially be a third-party situation, as Guild are very likely to want to move as well. Taking a look at the map, Point Donkey IT do go down in a central position, and they wish that they still had that under control, because now it's Alpha 7 on the north, it's DRX in their compound in the Alamo.
And for DRX, strong spot for them. Looking like it'll play out very nice. And again, once you get this spot and it's not been removed from you at this stage of the game, it becomes really strong. Fajay up towards that top side, looking out over towards Guild. Aza doing his best, but it's not quite enough here. Versus 3TN. Incilio takes a pretty heavy hit, but nothing they can't stand back up from. In the meantime, RCB flying past the Thundertalks, getting ahead of them. How in the hell the Thundertalks let this happen?
No idea. I mean, it was a rotation, I guess, in parallel there. Thundertalk didn't have the sightlines established. They can't really step up. It's worrying, though, that they couldn't stop it. You're right. Alpha 7 on the north side, they've got the rooftops to play with. Mafioso is still in South George. The function of Mafioso in South Yasnaya, the function of his position is to keep that high ground and protect Alpha 7 from backstabs, right? For a team like Incilio or Guild or the Vicious, moving in from that east side, wrapping around, pushing into the north edge of their compound. Mafioso stays there. That option is removed because you cannot step up to that wall. You cannot establish a push, drop those smokes, take your time with Mafioso taking those shots. This is what Incilio are going to attempt now, and this is where Mafioso needs to come in clutch, but the blue zone's going to be pushing him as well, so needs to be very careful as to when he takes those peaks.
If Mafioso is basically an installed alarm system over towards that northern side, and the alarm is going to start blaring very shortly. In the meantime, Team Spirit rolling through over towards Dip. Pushing further forward over towards Influence Rage. This feels like a very, very dangerous rotate from Team Spirit. Kitsune might get left behind. The vehicle is smoking away, and you can see those shots absolutely blasting away at his team. But they make it in. Strong position to play from. Influence Rage might want to head on forward. But this is so exposed, John.
Oh, 4MV managed to thread the needle on the shot. That's from outside the circle, Blank. The vehicle has gone up, though, and there is cover now available for Team Spirit. They can just hunker down for a little bit longer. DRX not going to be flexing out from this one. They want to keep their building under control. There's too many people around them for them to actually be able to go and third-party this position. So it's only going to be nades that could potentially reach Kitsune, and he's already getting rezzed. So potentially a strong result. TJB want to try and challenge for this rotate, though. Thundertalk have taken heavy casualties in the meantime, and RCB want to capitalize. High in the compound will not. And RCB with a fast roll down, make it work. TJB trying to keep things together for the PEL squads now, because Thundertalk have been pushed down by the wayside. Nomi and Matic very low. Kitsune healing up, but TJB can't find that opening.
For TJB, it's a scary team for Team Spirit to go up against here, considering the fact that they are so aggressive. I think as soon as they got that first knock, saw that first knock go towards Team Spirit, they were like, I'm going to push this, try and take a more central location. It was Nick Galaxy to flow on past Team Spirit though, head over towards RCB, who just concluded their fight with the Thunder Talks.
Nades cooking for RCB and for Enigma Galaxy. We've seen this bombardment from Enigma Galaxy before. They do like to invest these at this stage. A nade over towards Redox does connect from Wild, looking to put a second down as well and chew through it. That is an excellent opener, but what more can they do now? Enigma Galaxy really want to take this under control. The circle gives them so much strength on this position, but they just need to lock it down. Unfortunately, two of their players have been knocked. I don't think RCB are going to invest any more nades here, so 4 players may be apiece for both of these two teams in a central roadside position.
Yeah, you leave it at that. I think for Enigma Galaxy, they're trying to crawl away from this one. Alpha 7 taking some long shots over towards Vicious, who are on the south side of Guild. Good shots as well, actually. They're from very long distance. For Team Spirit, as well as Influence Rage, they're essentially waiting for the circle to close, because right now, because there are so many sidelines on the edge of this circle, Team Spirit and Influence Rage's position, not necessarily the safest, but they will be come stage 5.
Ooh, nade over the top from Exo. Able to find a player on the Vicious. Bronozin does get some healing done, but the vehicles are getting battered about by the nades, and so are the health bars. Guild able to move through, and that is the Vicious down from the northeast side. They cannot leave from that heaven compound. And on the northeast, Guild find a little opening, but Incilio have taken the opportunity to move in front of this. Low HP, this is dangerous, they're getting pulled out. And there will be another elimination going through for Guild as they go down in the open. Unfortunately, the sightline's not playing well for them. That's Alpha 7 to chime in and trying to get that step forwards, but I just don't see it happening.
Good hold from Enigma Galaxy over towards the Falcons. They tend to get a little bit closer. D Plus also holding on. Stalwart lead down towards the south side, where much of the action is taking place. And Alpha 7 might just hit a blinder here over on this northern edge. To play this game nice and slow outwards. Falcons now down to 1 player.
East on the east, just trying to keep himself together. See if they can keep it under control for the game. 4MV trying to make their way through, but Influence Rage now, with that point, and against 4MV, are in first place. There is an overtake now, as Influence Rage from the south edge look for D+ here as well. Nolbu just about able to sprint his way back to the rest of the team, a little bit closer to cover, but Influence Rage can continue this pressure. With chips down on the off angle, D+ here are down a player. Influence Rage can start to exact control over it.
So that D+ were able to get back into this one is very good, but like you're saying, Influence Rage controls a massive amount of land, but a great nade from Otal. Understanding the direction that Lorenzen's coming from, and he's completely separated from the rest of the team. Unlikely to get their player back up. And D+ can force the initiative.
Fabian charges it down over the side of the cliff there, and with 3 players, D+ cleared, not out of it just yet. Nolbu gets the information on the push-up from Influence Rage to that ridge line. Meanwhile, over on the west side, Team Spirit are still trying to rebuff TJB, as the nades just bounce overhead, and Nomi once again fades the damage. Team Spirit did lose a player earlier, but now with TJB right on the edge, I think they're going to be starting to run dry on supplies. 676 has at least 1 more nade here. Team Spirit just trying to keep their heads down. If they stay alive, they have the edge of this circle.
It is so awkward here. I'm more worried about Doc, to be honest with you. He could be a massive outside chance. TJB slowly moving these vehicles up, and Team Spirit somewhat of a stranglehold over towards them. Luckily, though, DRX finds the angle from the sidelines. They pushed over towards the west, and that's 1 player down in Triple S.
They've realized, Blank, that there's no one actually pushing onto their compound. No one's threatening from the hill, so they can afford to flex out like this. And the nades are brutal to TJB. They are not getting 676 back up. There is no way that they're able to make that happen. And what do you do at this stage? It is pretty much done and dusted for TJB. They're locked down by the sidelines from Team Spirit and from DRX on the overhead crossfire. It's so difficult to make anything happen here, and I think that they are not long for this match.
Having the buggy as a way to scout out for these nades is so busted in this location. Longs are living as long as possible, but there is shots going over towards DRX at the moment, so they have to be very careful. Nomi spots one, but will go down as TJB holds on for a little bit longer, but there is a refrag. Question is, are there any smokes to get Nomi back up into the picture?
Big nade, overarm from Kitsune, doesn't find Flower, but his position is known. Everybody has sightlines over towards it. Nomi makes a smart crawl, knows that the ridgeline is covered off towards DRX, knows that he's isolated that angle as well that had threat towards him. And the regroup now from DRX leaves TJB's head spinning. Team Spirit may have just been thrown a lifeline by the flex out from South Korea.
It's a good play from Team Spirit, it has to be said. Doc Nade gives me the spooks. I think when you look at this, it looks bad, but for Team Spirit, they realize it's the only option they have. They just need to survive it. It literally is survival. RCB crashes through.
But they've still got one more to go. They find it. RCB with another roll down blank. They're up to 11 eliminations on this match. They have been sweeping, they have been aggressive, and they have been earning point after point. A fantastic push up the tables for the team from Turkey. I've been waiting for it. It's good to see it come through. On the northeast side, it seems like things have been isolated. And it was TJB to fall as well. So we're down to 5 teams. And out on the west, you've still got, is that 3? Yeah, 3 players from Team Spirit. As 4MP do finally fall. No eliminations, but a 5th place is not the end of the world.
We had 4 out of the top 6 in the top 5 of this game, which is somewhat surprising, honestly. It really does feel like those leading teams are starting to bowl ahead a little bit now. Team Spirit down towards that southwest side, getting a little bit of damage done over towards DRX. The circle will close, and Team Spirit's going to have to figure out their game plan going forward because their vehicles are shredded. D+ though now going up against RTB. Great nade, has to run away from it, won't quite take him down. Good reactions there from D+.
Team Spirit's cupboards are bare here with very little utility. You can see they are just running on fumes right now after their standoff with TJB. They expended all of their smokes to keep themselves safe. Really don't have too much to play with other than the magazines and their weapons. That is still a fearsome prospect. If they can push up, if they can find an opening, they will take it. D+ Kia trying to handle RCB out on the east side. 4 players for RCB alive as Loxy tries to keep that suppression down. The wide sweep, and they love these vehicle roll-ups. Osal falls, Nolbu now the last descent for them, and he's dancing around, but Sara takes his dinner away from him. Able to find the shutdown, and RCB up to 14 eliminations now, Blank.
14 elims. Top 3. What a game from RCB. Still 4 players alive here going forward. Silas just had his interview. A little bit of encouragement. You've done it before, you can do it again. He took that to heart.
Team Spirit, they found a vehicle from somewhere. Dredged it from the depths. Digging deep on this one. In fact, with I think the only nade on side. As they roll forwards, they managed to find the dip, and DRX really can't push out too far. The question is, what sightlines do RCB have over to this? The vehicle blockade continues as Team Spirit find it a little bit more. RCB up to the hill, over the top of DRX. Have they just given this presence over towards Team Spirit? It feels like they maybe have, but they've left the player out on the east side. Sara, the Lone Ranger. A little bit less easy to communicate with him. Of course, that language barrier means you put him on an off angle. He knows what he's doing. He is that Lone Ranger, doesn't need to communicate as effectively. He can ping out those approaches. He can ping out those positions still.
Team Spirit has played in some of the most awkward locations of every single portion of these circles. They have literally never had a home. They're sleeping out on the benches at the moment. But they're still doing it. This is an unreal result for Team Spirit. A true test of survival for this squad. They are now in nade range, which is somewhat spooky.
It's basically a death sentence play. At this stage, Loxy lands one on Kitsune's head and finds a second from Silas, sent his way too. The bouncers still continue, and Team Spirit have nothing. They have no answer to this. Their nades are completely gone. They blew them all earlier on that southwest hold.
they're playing for second. They got some more nades off of that ditch in the first place, but they're all on Nomi at the moment. But they have to essentially hope that by the time this circle closes in, DRX becomes the focus for RCB, which they should do from Alamo.
Been trying to jump peek the smoke there, Effect crawling up behind it. Those smokes are about to fade, Blank. They're about to disappear.
This is a great play. I really like this play, John. Honestly, getting Effect up to here to damage the exit here from DRX is huge, because it means that they're likely to go down first, and they're just hoping that Nomi lives long enough. This is so good. The delay is massive. It doesn't matter that Effect's down. Like I said, this is a death sentence for DRX.
The blue zone pushes, and DRX need to find their way out. They have not got the pace. It would be a miracle to break free, but Nomi is still down there in the ditch. With RCB on 4 players alive, DRX just want to ladder up into second place. They've had a great game here, Blank. We may be redefining the top of the tables based on this. With 16 eliminations, RCB want to close this down on the 20. Let's see how much they can get. DRX moving out to hail of fire, but it's not quite connecting here. Sara nearly running dry, but finally a spray down connects. 1 player falls for DRX, a second as well. That goes to Loxy. 2 players still trying to make their way through. The open smoke ground not going to be clean. Soaz goes down next, and only 1 player survives. It is Hyunbin. What can Nomi do to maybe get that second place? He's still down in the ditch. He's spotted the player, I'm sure.
DRX still 1 player left remaining, like you say. Hyunbin's still up, and he will take him down. Nomi takes the second place. An unbelievable game from RCB. A survivalist performance from Team